Hey there, it's me, Nate, and today I want to talk to you guys about my TBR for the month of May 2026. So let's just get right into it. So starting off, the first thing I'm going to be reading is The Baptism of Fire by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is book number 5 of the Witcher series. And, obviously, since it's like 5 books deep, it's like hard to talk about it without going to spoilers. But basically, after the events of the previous book, which was Time of Contempt, Geralt is setting off on a journey with Dandelion to go look for Ciri. And while he's doing that, Nilfgaard has initiated a new war with all of like the other northern countries, and so there's a lot of Geralt basically trying to have to try to reach Nilfgaard to go see Ciri, while also having to avoid all of this war and destruction around him. So it's at the moment, at least where I am in the book, it's a lot of him and Dandelion and this other new character named Milva, who's this archer, having to go through the forests and through back roads and stuff to try to avoid all of the war fronts. So that's pretty interesting, and I'm liking it so far. I'm only, at the time of this recording, I'm about 25% in, and I'm liking it so far. I think it's the most Geralt stuff focus of one of the books that we've had in a while, because a lot of Time of Contempt was a lot about Yennefer and Ciri, with some Geralt stuff and a couple parts. So this book feels very Geralt heavy. So for those, for me, I was looking for a bit more Geralt without Yennefer, because reading the books, I've discovered how much I dislike Yennefer, at least at this point in Yennefer and Geralt's relationship, because Geralt feels mostly like a simp, and is just being taken advantage of by Yennefer. But we'll see how that relationship progresses, you know what I mean? Next up is this next book is actually a reread for me. This is a series that I read all the books of when I was in high school, I think. And that series is The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel. And this is the first book, The Alchemist. And this is a YA fantasy series. Basically, the alchemist Nicholas Flamel and his wife Perenelle have been searching for centuries for these two prophesized twins. They're gonna have the power to change the world. And finally, after centuries of searching, they have found them. And the two twins is a boy and a girl named Sophie and Josh. And basically, it's kind of once they discover them, they start watching them until eventually, opposing forces to Flamel discover the twins, and events kind of explode from there. And the thing that's interesting is that if you're a fan of mythologies, not just Roman and Greek, there's other ones too, but there's a lot of gods and spirits and creatures from different mythologies, whether that's Norse, Greek, Roman, African, American. So I think that's really cool, because a lot of times, especially in modern fiction, if it's not Greek or Roman, it gets mostly ignored. So that was one of the things I really liked about the series. And I thought they have magic, but it's also part of this kind of aura system. This every person has their own kind of natural aura around their bodies. And those who have awakened to their power can then use it and use magic and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So that'll be next after Baptism of Fire. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, this is I'm wiping this off because there's a little bit of dust. This is my old copy, my old original copy of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is the original copy, or probably like the first or second printing, but this is like what they call. I found this out when I was looking it up earlier. The Barbie covers, because a lot of people don't like these covers. I think they're like whatever. Because I have all of the books in the old school covers, except for the last two, Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash. And so I was like looking to see how much those would be, and I didn't realize how expensive getting the original covers would be. It's egregious. So maybe if I go through all the books and when I get to the last two, I'll just go ahead and get like all new hardcovers, like the new current artwork hardcovers. But as for Throne of Glass, what it's about, it is Throne of Glass is the first book of Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series, and the main character Selena. Hold on. Yeah, Selena Sardothian. I couldn't remember if her last name was a spoiler or anything, but Selena Sardothian is basically this country's like greatest assassin, and she had been captured and imprisoned, and she's been in there for some years now after like one of her jobs went bad or she was betrayed or something like that. And the king, this like evil king of this country, needs her to pull off a job. So he has her released from prison into his service. But Selena, she wants to get revenge on the king and all the people that wronged her. But she also has like her own backstory and like her own point of origin that has like wider implications to the world. And as for the world itself, it is very like fae based, like the fairy courts and stuff like that, which a lot of people don't like. I'm like, it's whatever. I got really, like I said earlier, I got pretty far into the series. I got up to like, so there's 7 main books and 1 prequel novella. So I read the first 5 of the main books plus the prequel novella. So I only had 2 books left to go. And I think the ending of that 5th main book annoyed me at the time, and I ended up just like kind of dropping off the series. But I want to give Throne of Glass another chance and see how it goes. So moving on, next up, this is kind of more of like a modern fantasy romantasy story, Heartless Hunter. I'm not sure if this is actually romantasy or if it's just, fantasy with the romance in it, but basically Heartless Hunter, it takes place in this country where I think witches or like, sorceresses were kind of like the ruling class until one day their magic is like stolen or stops working, and so the society kind of flips, where witches are basically hunted down and put on trial and executed and stuff. And our main character, she I think was like basically a princess, or like a noble of like the witch society, and she managed to like stay hidden and has been like kind of like protecting other witches that she can find, and also trying to like restore their society back to the way it was. And one day she has to like kind of go undercover with kind of like the more like the human current led government, and she has this kind of like romance with like one of like the main witch hunters. But he obviously she can't let him find out who she really is. And so this kind of like undercover like forbidden romance kind of story. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, this one is a pretty widely loved newer book that's came out in the last few years. This is the first book of a trilogy. This is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the first book of his Shadow Leviathan trilogy, because I think the final book is supposed to come out this year. So if I could get through the first two, this year and get to the last one this year. I think that'd be great. I think I could do that. But basically, this is like a fantasy take on Holmes and Watson, on Sherlock Holmes, and Den is the Watson equivalent, and Anna is the Holmes equivalent. And in this world, they're kind of like, as far as I understand, they're in like this walled city that is under threat by basically like these like kaiju like monsters on the outside, and the people on the inside, they can use like these plants or some kind of thing to enhance themselves and give themselves powers. And they use those powers either for like security or the military or for whatever else. And Anna and Den are investigators, and Anna's really quirky, and she's like a homebody, and so she sends Den out basically to the crime scenes to collect all the data and stuff. And Den has a power. I think he's called an engraver, or something like that, and where he can basically have like photographic memory and remember everything he sees, so he can bring it back to Anna, and she can like figure out the case. And she's like this like genius investigator and stuff. And so it sounds really interesting, and I know people really love at least the first two books of this trilogy. So I'm excited to try that out. Next up, we have Airman by I think it's pronounced Ian Colfer, because I don't remember. But so this book, this is a reread for me. This is like kind of like a mix of The Count of Monte Cristo and The Man in the Iron Mask, the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. So our main character, Connor, he is part of his family, the Brokeharts. They are like a family that lives like in service to the king of like this kind of like island nation city state. And one day, Connor, as like a preteen or like a teenager, gets kind of caught up in kind of like palace intrigue and like this kind of like murder plot, and is kind of like secretly placed in prison, and is like kind of basically locked away there and kind of like abandoned, and so similar to like the main character in The Count of Monte Cristo, he wants to break out and get his revenge and kind of like reclaim what he thinks is his. And that's basically what Airman is about. So it is like kind of like a YA take on The Count of Monte Cristo or The Man in the Iron Mask. And I remember really enjoying this book a lot. Like I've read it probably like 2 or 3 times. So I want to see if it still holds up, and I'll do a review on that. Next up is The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey. This is the next series from the writers of The Expanse. And I do have the first book of The Expanse, Leviathan Wakes. And I do want to get to it, but it's just like I also have this, and this is like so much shorter. This is like a bit over. It's like about half the size of Leviathan Wakes, so it's a much shorter book. So that's why I'm getting to it sooner. But The Mercy of Gods is basically about a human colony that gets abducted by these aliens, and one of the humans that they kind of like abduct has like kind of like it like analyzes and figures out like this alien species, and kind of tries to use between like, politics and like his reasoning to kind of like take them down kind of from within, is my understanding. And it sounded really interesting, and the bits of like Leviathan Wake that I have like and like The Expanse that I've seen were pretty interesting. So I decided to go ahead and pick up Mercy of the Gods. The second book actually of this series, the Captives War series, that's what it's called. The Captives War series, the second book came out just here in like the middle of April. So if I like this, I'll probably also get to the second book this year as well. So definitely looking forward to that. Trying to get some more sci-fi back into the mix because there's been a lot of fantasy lately. Oh, and here we go. The last book I plan on reading in May is The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. This is the second book of his Dark Materials trilogy. So if you watched my The Golden Compass review, you'll see that I really enjoyed that book, and so I'm really looking forward to getting to The Subtle Knife. But I'm putting it at the end of May, so I can give myself a little bit of breathing room in between. I don't really like to binge read series usually. I like to give it a little bit room, because I feel like if you give yourself room in between entries in a series, you can kind of it gives you more time to mentally process the themes and the ideas and the characters before you move on to the next entry. But yeah, The Subtle Knife, I'm really looking forward to it, especially after the ending of The Golden Compass. And like they say at the beginning of The Golden Compass, the first book takes place in Lyra's world, the second book takes place in our world, and the third book takes place in both. So I'm really looking to see how Philip Pullman uses his ideas and his themes and his characters to explore our world and what he thinks of our world in comparison to Lyra's world. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it also introduces the second main character of the series. I think his name is Will, who is a character from our world. So I'm really looking forward to that. But those are all the books I plan to read in May, and that is 8 books for the month of May. So pretty hefty. And like I did for April, if I end up DNFing or if I have an extra day or something, I might squeeze in some more volumes of So I'm a Spider, So What, that light novel series I had mentioned in my April wrap-up video. But yeah, that's what I plan to read for the month of May. So in the comments down below, if you'd like, if you could tell me about what the books you plan to read in May are. What's your TBR looking like? What's your stack like? Because I'm interested, I always want to, see what people are reading. And also, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. But until next time, I hope you guys have a good day.